In the next 15 years, Superman, Batman, Bugs Bunny, and all these other characters will enter the public domain, meaning anyone could legally make any movie they want about them, which sounds really exciting, except it's not. Apparently, the millions of talented people on this planet only want to make shitty horror movies. In the last few years, we've already gotten some iconic characters like Winnie the Pooh and Popeye and Mickey f***ing Mouse, with some of the most iconic and interesting characters in history being available to literally anyone. You'd think we'd have something interesting by now. No, we don't. And there's a ton of comments online on the various trailers of these movies that mention this public domain horror movie phenomenon. Winnie the Pooh was the first major character in over 20 years to enter the public domain, and almost immediately after, it was announced that there'd finally be a non-Disney movie made about him. A non-Disney movie about him murdering people. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey was released in 2023 from the studio that brought you Dinosaur Hotel and Dinosaur Prison and Jurassic Valley. I think they have a thing for dinosaurs. The movie starts with the grown-up Christopher Robin going back to the 100-acre woods so we can see his childhood friends like Piglet and Pooh and Eeyore and the rest of the gang. It sounds great, right? Grab all your favorite characters and put your own little twist to them, and the twist is cannibalism. When Christopher was young, his family moved to the city and the animals were left alone when winter came, and so they had to do what they had to do to survive. Like eat Eeyore. I am not making this up. This is some Lord of the Flies, Yellow Jackets shit, except it's Winnie the Pooh. Or it gets far more complicated than that, as we'll find out in the sequel, because yes, they made a sequel, but we'll get to that. Naturally, they blamed Christopher Robin for leaving them and grew a dark hatred for human beings. This kind of reminds me of the 2010 Alice in Wonderland film, because she too comes back for this fairy tale place she found as a kid, and there's this darkness that spread. And like Christopher Robin's friends, Alice's friends blame her a little bit for leaving them. Except they didn't turn into raging murderous monsters. And the sequel introduces new weird ideas. Like, who is actually Christopher Robin's long-lost brother Billy, who went missing when they were kids? And all of the other animal friends like Piglet and Eeyore, they're all just other kidnapped children. This also makes no sense, because the whole idea is that all the Christopher Robin stories that we're familiar with when he's a kid, that all happened. It just turned dark after he left. But now you're saying that the entire time he was playing with dead children who were experimented on when they were kids to look like animals. And the sequel has end credit stuff too. It has these other drawings of these other type of fairy tale characters and ends with this Avengers style mashup with other characters like Pinocchio and Bambi, which actually reminds me, they made a horror B film for Bambi as well.
Oh, bro.
I hope you're starting to see what I mean by flopping at making public domain movies by just making horror movies. And really horror universes, because that Bambi movie is a part of the Pooh universe, which is titled the Twisted Childhood Universe, or the TCU. Whoever had the idea to make a TCU out of iconic childhood public domain characters is a certified dumb genius. Bambi entered the public domain in 2022, and it's important to note that this is the book version, not Disney's animated version, because that comes to public domain in 2038. And to be fair, the book is darker than the movie, as with most Disney adaptations, but it's not Bambi's a murdering monster dark. And I certainly see the appeal of adapting these stories closer to their original tone, which, again, let's be very clear, their original tone is not a horror book, it's just not a colorful Disney animated movie. In 2024, it was a pretty big deal when Mickey Mouse entered the public domain. It's one of the most iconic, it's Mickey Mouse, guys, it's literally Mickey Mouse. So we all can only imagine what creative things people would do all across the world now that they could legally use Mickey Mouse. And we got another horror movie! Literally one day after Mickey Mouse entered the public domain, they announced a new Mickey Mouse horror film called Screamboat, based on Mickey's first appearance, Steamboat Willie. Oh! And another one called Mickey's Mousetrap. Yes, 2 Mickey Mouse horror films in the same year. And in case you didn't know, public domain is this wonky year-by-year thing, so despite Mickey Mouse being in the public domain, only his appearance from Steamboat Willie is technically in the public domain. He didn't get the classic red pants and glove until 1935, and so that version of the character won't be in public domain until 2030. My biggest issue is ironically the originality of these pieces. Screamboat sports strikingly similar lore to Blood and Honey. The movie starts with these two ferry workers opening a sealed chamber below deck that housed Willie, which is just a creepy mutated mouse. Like Blood and Honey, he was once the Mickey Mouse we all knew and loved. And he was even taken care of by another ferry worker called Walt, which is a fun little depiction of Walt Disney. And all these ideas are fun, using Walt as an homage, giving new lore and new backstories to these fun characters. This is what the public domain is for. And then they ruin it. They just ruin it. Something happened to Mickey. Willie. Throughout the movie, they keep calling him Willie for some reason instead of Mickey, despite Mickey Mouse being completely free legally to use. But maybe that's some special new lore that they save for the sequel. Because yes, they have announced a sequel. Anyway, something happened to Willie after Walt left that they either don't explain or I just did not care enough to remember. But this turned Willie into a rage mouse mania. There isn't really much more to the plot than this. He basically just kills everyone, and then they seemingly kill him at one point, in which they hint that he's not really dead and will come back in classic slasher film no one ever dies fashion. What I did find weird though is that they have a character named Pete, which is the name of Mickey Mouse's arch nemesis, and not only is he a human, but he's not even the main conflict of Mickey Mouse in this movie. And he is one of the main characters, but you'd think like he'd be the one to stop Willie or something. But no, he just dies randomly like anyone else in the film. I will say though that I don't think we even see his death, so perhaps he comes back because the sequel is called Screamboat, Nothing Stays Dead. So perhaps he too gets mutated and either joins Willie or joins the humans as this equal force who can fight back against Mickey. Willie? His name is Willie, goddammit! It's funny because I'm trashing this movie, but I still can't help but theorize in the lore and different plot points behind it. Look what pop culture has done to me. Also, look what not having a job has done for me. By the way, if anyone's hiring for a job, let's not forget, folks, there is yet another horror movie based off Mickey Mouse. But before we get into that, I think it's a little bit important to talk about public domain and why it's important to have it. See, whenever a piece of art is created, it's automatically copyrighted. Even that little piece of paper that you drew as a kid in kindergarten, that's your piece of art. Legally, it's yours. Copyright used to be nice and simple. After a certain amount of time, it leaves copyright and enters the public domain, where anyone could use this piece of art. This is so companies can't just hoard IPs and keep monetizing off of works that old dead people made years before them. Can you imagine a capitalist society that still holds Shakespeare's work and sells it for money despite him being dead for hundreds of years? So it used to be that every piece of art after 50 years would enter the public domain. Then Disney put a lot of money to change that, and it changed to 95 years. And Disney did this so they can keep profiting off of work that a dead man made. And because of the change, for over 25 years, nothing entered the public domain. The first being Pooh, and then the biggest being Mickey, which is what Disney was trying to protect by extending the deadlines for so long. This is why, despite me making fun of and hating these horror movies, it's super important that we're even able to watch them and make them. Because we should be able to make a shitty Mickey Mouse horror movie, considering Mickey Mouse was created 100 years ago, and Walt Disney has been dead for nearly 60 years. It's no longer about fair rights and money to the creator of art. It's simply about greedy companies and holding IPs. So I celebrate these terrible, bad, hilarious horror movies. So back to the Mickey Mouse movie. The Mousetrap, which was formerly known as Mickey's Mousetrap, which I think is just a much better name. I have a feeling though that a certain litigious company had got in the way of them changing it to Mousetrap. And this movie is honestly just so much worse than Screamboat. It's not even a B movie. It's like a C, D movie. It's like the audio's bad.
You know, I used to think you were just a little quirky, but...
Total serial killer vibes.
The lighting's bad. The whole thing just feels a little bit amateur. And the plot is just crazy. It's like a slasher movie, but Mickey Mouse is like a Pennywise thing who has these random abilities that the plot is convenient for. Like he can teleport, and sometimes he uses like telekinesis. Literally whatever the plot needs him to do, he does. I'm not even really gonna go into any more of the plot because that's it. They go to an amusement park and there's this slasher guy who's dressing up as Mickey Mouse, or is Mickey, no, I don't know, he has a mask and he just kills these young people in an amusement place park. That's it. But what's better than 2 horror movies of a beloved character? Three horror movies of a beloved character. If you really want to see how bad it's become, let's look at Popeye, who has just entered the public domain this year. And already, this year, he has 3 shitty horror movies based off of him. It's so weird because Popeye is a popular character. They could have actually put money into a real, thought-out movie or cartoon or animation, but instead, 3 different teams of different producers and writers and directors all decided to make a shitty horror movie instead. I need to calm down because I need to calm down. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters. And you're probably thinking there's no way I'd watch 3 different B-film horror Popeye movies for one YouTube video. And you'd be absolutely right because I did not. I definitely don't get paid enough on YouTube to do that. But watch my videos and subscribe, and maybe maybe one day. I did, however, read the Wikipedia pages and watch the trailers so I can make my own opinion of some movies that I have never seen. That's some work I did there. The saddest part of these is that they all have the same plot. It's just the classic slasher B-film plot. A ton of young people just go to a vacation home or somewhere away from home, and they find a weird killer who just who kills all of them. The backstories and takes on how each Popeye became a raging serial killer, that's kind of fun to see. One is an actual sailor man who ate contaminated spinach from a spinach plant, and that made him big and strong and presumably a serial killer. And this one's actually super fun because they use prosthetics to make him look like Popeye-fied. Ooh, Popeye-fied. Another one is a kid who was bullied at school and ended up killing his bully by popping his eyes out, hence getting the name Popeye. And then the entire town in retaliation burned down his house, which killed his mother inside of it.
15 years ago, the little boy they called Popeye drowned.
So he comes back one day all big and strong and starts murdering random kids who had nothing to do with the murder of his mom. This one pisses me off because it could have been a revenge. Like, he needs to take a note from Punisher. It could have easily been a fun revenge story of him killing the people who killed his parents. But no, it was him killing random young adult children. This is also just the laziest design in my opinion. It's just a dude in a sailor costume. But the last one is easily the worst Popeye. The poster's kind of cool, and his design's kind of cool, except for the fact that his face is like a weird CGI. Or maybe there's some special, I can't even really tell based off the trailer. Maybe if I watch the movie, maybe. But his story is that a comet came down from the sky, and a shard of it hit his pipe while he was fishing, thus turning him into this crazy mutated Popeye person guy. It's literally just the same story as the contaminated spinach story, except instead of contaminated spinach from a spinach plant, it's a random comet shard. They both just transform into a serial maniac for no reason. I am not even kidding you when I say the plots, besides the backstories, are exactly the same. The only other interesting thing that happens in any of these films is in Popeye the Sailor, is in Popeye the Slayer Man, where one of the survivors, Olivia, turns out at the end is actually Olive Oyl and Popeye's daughter. That's okay. All right, some lore, some interesting plot twists. There's also some moments in Popeye the Slayer Man where Popeye spares some people, and it kind of feels like he might have some moral compass that they don't really explain. But that's interesting. It's cooler than just another movie of of this guy just killing random kids for no reason. I do wish they would have explored more. I wish he was kind of like an anti-hero guy who did spare some people for some reason, and we find that out later. But no, it was just a pick and choose situation. And funny enough, every single film had at least one character named Olive or Olivia, and none of them were in cahoots with Popeye. None of them were even in any relation to Popeye. They were all just like survivors and people who found Popeye and were being attacked by him as well. Except for the one Olivia, who happened to be Popeye's daughter. But even that one doesn't make any sense, because in the whole film, she's being attacked by Popeye and trying to survive. She's not even cahoots with him. They just shoehorned that in at the end. And I know there's probably other public domain horror movies out there, and probably even some more Popeye and Mickey Mouse ones, but you get the idea. You take a popular public domain character, give some mumbo jumbo sci-fi story, backstory, tragedy to them, and then just put them in some remote random location where a ton of young people go to vacation, and he kills them. That's the entire plot of every single one of these movies. So maybe like and subscribe.